He kind of looks like you. Or you look like him.
It really does.
Yeah.
The beard. So I'm not echoing, or am I echoing? Because it sounds like I'm still echoing. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. This is the introduction. What?
Are we live?
Yes, we are live. Everybody have their coffee? This is Anna Karenina. This is what we were talking about tonight. We're doing an introductory stream tonight, so you do not have to read the book to hang out with us and chat about this book. I think only one of us here has actually read it. Is that correct? Noah, you're the only one?
I don't know if I'm the only one. I have read it. I read it last year. The man. So
it is not required to read it for this stream, obviously. We'll be talking about our expectations and our previous experiences with Tolstoy. So I hope you will let us know what you think down in the chat. What do you expect this book to be about if you haven't read it? And if you have read it, give us your rating. So that's what we want to hear from you in the chat. Please let us know. It's so great to see all of our friends here. So I'm just going to make a few announcements. You guys are letting us know your expectations and your ratings. So this is the first of 3 live streams that we will be having for Anna Karenina. The next one will be on November 4th at the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And we will have Stephanie from Miss Richards Reads with us, and she's here tonight in the chat. So tonight's guest is Noah from Someone Who Reads Must Converse. Reads It Must Converse. So, and the next book will be The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. These are both books for the Literary Discord server, which is also down below in the description. So we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves, and do please let us know in the chat your experience with Leo Tolstoy. Leslie, would you like to go first?
Sure. My name is Leslie. I'm with the Nerdy Narrative. My experience with Tolstoy is just what I've heard about on the Codex Cantina, and then a few short stories that I read because of the coverage on their channel. And once I read those stories, I really enjoyed them. I loved his writing style, and I was like, okay, now I need to research one of his novels to read. I literally know nothing about Anna Karenina. All I did was Google what his greatest works were. This one popped up. And so then I started looking to see who all had read it and covered it. Noah's channel popped up, and that's when he and I met on BookTube and started talking. And so no expectations, no idea what to expect, just going in blind.
All right. Very cool. So as Leslie kind of kicked us off there, I was super impressed with his short stories. So that's where we started, was reading some of his, which I guess bigger Tolstoy fans than us know that his later years of writing is much different than his earlier years of writing. And Krypto here and I, we only know his later year writing. So we are super excited to check out his earlier stuff and his novel form, which apparently is his strength. But I'm telling you, his short stories are so strong for us. I don't know if it's going to be able to top those, but we're excited to find out, right? Right, Krypto?
Oh, for sure. I'm the other quarter, the pretty one of the Codex Cantina. And we've done the shorts for 2 years now. And I had always, heard of Leo Tolstoy with War and Peace. And I had not heard of this story until we started talking about reading a full novel. And I was like, oh, what's that one about? And you look it up and it's like, oh, in the venue of greatest novel of all time categories. And, oh, okay, that's high praise. When you're going through and looking at the greatest works of all time of human history, that's that doesn't get thrown around too often. So I'm excited, high expectations, and of course it's Tolstoy, so I know he's not going to disappoint because his stories are always something special because he knows how to write, and he's one of those authors that gets people.
That's for sure. I would say that that's one of Tolstoy's strongest, major strengths is just knowing people and being able to develop characters so well, and very, very perceptive little quirks, or just bringing out in a couple of descriptors something where you know the character and you can just relate. Very, very cool. We were doing last year the Tolstoy Triggered. I was doing that with the boys over here, Codex Cantina, and that was freaking awesome to go through Tolstoy short stories like that. In the middle of which Lukash at A Cruel Reader's Thesis and I read Anna Karenina. It was Mammoth for March of the Mammoths last year that we read together, and it was an awesome experience. I read The Fever of Volokonsky translation. He read, I believe, the Garnett. Is that right?
Probably. That's the free one.
That's the one that he read, and it was a cool experience. And I definitely share the affinity for later Tolstoy. To tell you the truth, my first Tolstoy that I came in contact with was one of his last written works that isn't even a story. He wrote an essay, a long essay or something like this, called What I Believe. And then he got a lot of backlash for that. And then he wrote, as a response to the backlash, a piece called The Kingdom of God is Within You, which is just masterful. I love it. And it is described as a very weird kind of Christianity, but, by people who have problems with, the mainstream Christian narrative as well. So when it comes down to it, why would you, I behoove anybody to take a look at The Kingdom of God is Within You, because he takes, the tenets of Christianity, such as turn the other cheek and love your neighbor as yourself, to its logical conclusion, and applies it to on even a nationwide scale. If a nation professes to be a Christian nation or something like this, what that should mean or what that does mean, and kind of provides a metric that people ain't ready for even right now. So.
So you've read some of his nonfiction work. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that was the first stuff that I read by him.
Okay. Yeah. He had an interesting philosophy, and it made him, he didn't like being rich, so that just made him a very interesting cat.
Right. A little self-loathing, wanting to, but isn't that something where people who are well off and have this kind of thing, and he could be a full-on materialist for most of his life and be content there, but then in later life, then you're like, wait, this isn't everything. This isn't all of it. So what is there? And then you have a spiritual, an existential crisis in some kind of way. You have to, find out for yourself. Have to do some soul searching. That's what it is, right?
Now, Christy, what is your experience with Mr. Tolstoy?
Well, I have read several things by him. I haven't finished all of them. So I really loved The Death of Ivan Ilyich. That was one of the first videos I remember seeing from the Codex Cantina, was them talking about it. And I was like, yes! That's my favorite novella. It's so good. It follows one man as he dies and everybody's reaction to his death, which is just sounds really morbid, but it's also really hopeful if you look at it from Tolstoy's perspective. So just an amazing book. And I think that was the first thing I read from him. So I was determined to read more. I read a bunch of short things actually with the Tolstoy Triggered project. And that was still my favorite. And also A Very Russian Christmas last year. And I think still The Death of Ivan Illich is my favorite. And I read about 2/5 of War and Peace, but I haven't finished it yet. I just had too many big books this year, and I didn't put enough focus on it. So I might try and finish more of it, or just wait until next year and start over, because I know at least the Codex Cantina is considering doing it, and another friend of mine may also be reading it next year. So
yeah, there's been a lot of talk about War and Peace next year. There might be a huge read along, and so the literary discourse may be picking that as part of their monthly read for that. So
yeah,
I'll have to join in on that, just because John Saxon will not let me live it down if I miss that opportunity. I think John said he's read it. John, how many times have you read it? Did you say like 3 times or 5 times? I think War and Peace is his favorite book.
oh,
now what happens, Christy? What would the world come to if you like this book more than Crime and Punishment? Would you change your channel name?
She would never tell us.
What would happen?
She would never admit it.
honestly, Dostoevsky plays a very important role in my life in the past, and that's never going to change. So, yeah, even if, like I've discovered my love for Flannery O'Connor since, like falling in love with Crime and Punishment. So I've met some amazing authors post Crime and Punishment, but he just holds a special place in my heart.
No, I understand that. Tell you what, if you like this more than Crime and Punishment, I want you to tell me in secret, and we won't tell anyone. Okay, it'll be our little secret. What I'll do, I'll shave my beard for the first in 25 years. I'll go baby face Una, and then
don't do it.
And then everybody will know. We won't tell anyone. They'll just know what that means. That'll be our
signal.
Yeah, that's the signal.
Well, the best thing about a secret is secretly telling someone secretly.
And then he'll be secretly divorced because Mrs. Una will be like, no, negative.
Get him.
Look at that beard.
I know.
Yeah, we gotta do no shave November and get our Tolstoy on.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Well, we did that. Remember we did that one tag. We're not getting any younger, and Christy had the Tolstoy beard. For like, I was honestly curious if I was going to show up for this live stream, and Christy was just going to be rocking the Tolstoy beard today.
That would take some video thing that I some kind of filter that I do not know how to use. I missed the filter generation, and I think I'm the youngest one here. That's sad.
This beard started because of a no shave November. For sure.
Really?
What year? How long has this been going on, Noah? How long have you been Tolstoying it?
4 years.
4-year Tolstoy? Okay, very good.
4 years growing the beard out. I haven't shaved it.
Since you were 4, I believe.
Razor shave. I haven't razor shaved for 4 years, but before that, I just rocked a goatee. I wasn't like babyface ever.
She's moving us on. No more beard talk. She's moving us on. Icebreaker pop up there.
Come on, guys. Come on, boys.
It's beard envy.
Right.
I was gonna say, I came out like this. I was just born this way. My parents were like, "He's gonna read Anna Karenina one day." I can just tell.
I love this, Brian. That's great. So,
the icebreaker. How do we summarize this?
How do we I don't know. I haven't read
There it is.
What do you expect
this is
to be about?
the only question that Noah can answer here. We're all just going to be.
Yeah, Noah can
you
rate
books.
Everybody else, tell us.
I don't usually rate books. I mean, if you see any of the takes on my channel, I never am like, oh, it's a 3 out of 5 or a 8 out of 10 or something like that. But I will say that this book is very, very strong. It's an enjoyable thing, and I do have videos on my channel, 3 actually, going through Anna Karenina. So if you want to know exactly how I really think about it, feel free to check that out. If you want to know if you haven't read it and just want to know, I highly recommend that you should read it. You won't be disappointed. it's not what you expect it to be, let me tell you. And you know, it's not, you know, like one of my favorite of all time or something like that personally, but you know, I really just gravitate to more you know, stuff in the now. You know what I mean? Not so much classics as far as being some of the greatest things that I've ever read, just because we're in a time, I mean, like, our lives are so much more complex. You know, the complexity that comes out in older novels and things like that just seem not to hold a candle to what we deal with even on a day-to-day in our world now.
Now, I haven't read much of the book so far, but I would kind of disagree with that a little bit. I think because we gain more information on a daily basis than they did their entire lives. I mean, we're flooded with information, visually, auditory, and everything. But I think that because they didn't have technology, their lives are a lot more complex because their relationships are a lot more complex. And I think in some regards, maybe their relationships are more important to them because they have so few of them, and it's the only way they have to access other people. We have other means of accessing people's information, of reading and videos and digital communications, when back then all they had was each other. So I don't know. I think that sometimes their lives can be just as complex or more than us.
I think that's valid for sure, especially if looking at the way that relationships were, and there was just constant conversations, and if not conversations, then it's letters. And when you read this kind of thing, a book, an older book like this, and see how people, you know, handled their life and their relationships and stuff, your heart breaks a little bit for the modern person, because there's so much that is missing out of our interactions and stuff, because people just, you know, they, to share on such a personal level is an almost like a once in a lifetime thing for us, whereas it was it was everybody doing that with everybody else, it seems, back in the day. You know, it's just a whole, it's a culture shock and an age shock, you know, this kind of breed.
You know, let me ask you a question here, Noah. I hear this phrase all the time, and I can't legitimately disagree with it, but like, I fundamentally, when I hear it, I'm like, that can't be right. Like, there's more to it than that. But whenever someone's initially getting into, you know, a lot of Russian literature, there's always the talk Dostoevsky versus Tolstoy, right?
Sure.
And I always hear this line, and I can't view Dostoevsky in this box, so I assume Tolstoy can't also fit in this box. But you hear this phrase that Dostoevsky wrote about psychology and people, and Tolstoy wrote about social structure and societal norms. And when I hear that, it just drives me nuts, because I think of Dostoevsky also writing about social norms, classes, and stuff like that. Like, that doesn't work for me, but I don't know enough about Tolstoy. When you hear that phrase, that line, that Dostoevsky is about psychology, maybe not so much that, but when you hear about Tolstoy being about the socioeconomic, you know, class,
right, like as opposed to psychology.
Yeah. Do you agree with that statement, or is that something that we just have to say that statement is false?
Yeah, I would say that it's, you know, it's reductive. Who's trying to box them down in this kind of way? You'll see a lot of the inner life and struggles that would be, you know, psychological struggles, or even, you know, philosophical struggles, existential struggles, with leaven in this, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's gonna, you know, there's definitely that aspect of people. I mean, the whole, I don't know how far along y'all are in the book, but
I'm through part one.
The whole Vronsky, Kitty, Anna thing is just, it's great, and there's a lot of psychology in with that too. You know, it's desire. So desires are not social norms. Desires are from, you know, a person's personality or mental state. So it's more psychological than that.
Yeah, for
Keeping track, Gore Vidal says, keeping track of Anna's thought processes in the story is fascinating, and I completely agree. Anna is an amazing character. Tolstoy's characters are always very realized.
Yeah. I think I was thinking about it today because this is what you do on the day of a live stream is you sit here and you pontificate about life and Russian literature. But I want to throw this one to Leslie and Christy. So for me, my experience has been, one thing I love about Dostoevsky is his dang character work is so memorable. You will remember Raskolnikov. You're going to remember Alyosha for years, right? When I think of Tolstoy, though, to what Krypto said earlier, he gets people. Like these are very realistic people to me when I read Tolstoy. What are your guys' thoughts on, you know, what you've read so far? And would you agree with a statement like that?
Well, they have completely different writing styles. Dostoevsky, to me, is more matter-of-fact, almost choppy. Tolstoy has a much cleaner, flowing type of storytelling that's easier to follow. Dostoevsky's characters get on my nerves, but I'm really enjoying Anna so far. I like all the characters that I've met. I'm only about 100 pages in, and I think I know what's happening. I'm not sure. And then when you're dealing with a Russian author, it can go one of two ways, comedic or tragic. So I don't know where it's going. I'm just really enjoying the story. It's just so easy to read and understand. I mean, I know that's a lot that has to do with the translator, and I just do not mesh with Dostoevsky, and I definitely mesh with Tolstoy. So I guess my channel name is going to have to change.
But you're saying this based on reading 3/4 of Crime and Punishment.
I've read other stuff by him. I read some of the short stories. I can't remember what all once, but I hated Crime and Punishment.
Okay.
You read Brothers Karamazov.
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Oh, that's right. You did. I'm sorry. Okay.
I read all of that one.
Okay.
It was better, but only because I read like 8 pages a day.
All right, Christy, what's your thoughts?
I agree with that in the sense that Dostoevsky can be like really choppy sometimes. And actually, I'm doing a read along of Crime and Punishment right now too, which is a little crazy. But part of what his style is he likes to kind of share the complexity of just like based on the first page of Crime and Punishment, you know you're in for a ride as far as characters and their motivations, because on the first page he gives you like 3 potential reasons for why Raskolnikov is afraid to meet his landlady. You know, it's like 1 is because he's in deep debt to her. 2 is because he's just kind of sick and preoccupied with his own self. And, you know, like it just, there's a whole bunch of reasons why. And by the end, he's like, I just don't want to deal with these people. Like, that's it, you know? And so it's kind of like, it's not as flowing in the sense of Tolstoy, like you're saying. It's not really like from the time period that it's written. It's more of like a modern kind of writing style. So it's definitely not always easy to read. So I think that's a really good point that you made. They're very different writing styles. And their subject matter.
So I was going to say, one thing I'm hearing is that Tolstoy's a lot smoother, easy to read for the average person.
I like his characters better too. I just like Dostoevsky, I have one character I like by him. Tolstoy, I have several. And I'm a character-driven reader, so that may be why I never meshed with Dostoevsky. His people got on my nerves.
Now, when it comes...
Go ahead. I think that's one of the arguments of not only Tolstoy, but this book is why it's up there as one of the greatest, is you have a man author writing nearly, maybe, again, I'm only a fourth of the way through the book or so, a fifth of the way through the book, and I feel like his writing of his female characters is so far superior to Dostoevsky. It just he can write Anna so much better than any of the female characters in Brothers K or Crime and Punishment.
You
And I
might
think
not
that's-
say that you read War and Peace, but just saying.
Well, I mean,
No.
and
Well, I mean, then that's the thing. It's in my opinion. I think that Tolstoy understands people a little bit better, and I mean, to kind of think of that idea of you were talking about kind of comparing them. If one is an archaeologist, the other is an anthropologist, and I think that if you're looking at Dostoevsky, he's an archaeologist, and if you're looking at Tolstoy, he's an anthropologist. He gets people, I think, a little bit better. And I don't think it's fair to put him in a box saying that, you know, he only writes X, Y, and Z. I think his scope of being able to write is a little bit broader from, again, my very limited perspective of a fifth of this book and all of his short stories, if we're doing a comparison.
So Noah, question for you. Let's kick it back to the two Anna Karenina here. I've heard some debate over who is the best character in this book. That there are people that are siding with Team Levin. There are people that fall in love with Anna Karenina. Talk to me about what are some of the memorable characters and why do you think they're so memorable? With, you know, of course, being spoiler free. What do we have to look forward to with this book and these characters?
when I say, like, you know, characters are wonderful, it's not because they're not irritating sometimes, right? You know, they can be irritating, that's for sure. But I mean, with Levin is such a, you know, I would say Levin is the kind of character that you go on a journey with.
Mm-hmm.
You really go on a journey with Levin, and the male reader will be more like see himself in Levin, or what could be, perhaps something like that. If you're not, you know, maybe at a point in your life of something like that. But he goes through it's a big book. I mean, it's a big book. So you're not, you know, it's different than you expect. Let me tell you, as far as you know, how much you're going to get. At least it was for me. And I went in kind of blind. But for the female reader, Levin is going to be a wonderful experience, I think, as well, because you see a lot of things from a man's perspective that maybe they don't talk about, maybe that they don't share their you know, I mean, you don't voluntarily offer up your worrying about your own inadequacies all the time, right? I mean, we don't share that with our women, because why? You don't want to say, hey, I feel like I'm totally inadequate, and her say, well, yeah, you know, I'm not really that happy, to tell you the truth, you know, like, or something like that. You know,
It makes me feel hopeful. Like that's kind of where I'm at with him right now. He just feels like he's got hope.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Levin is a very he's an idealist. You know, he's an idealist, and I love Levin. I really do. Levin's a great character. With Anna,
So
you know, it's like the opposite. Not that I'm not saying she's like an opposite character or whatever. I'm saying you know, the kind of journey you go through with Anna is
She's no Kathy from
East of Eden.
a question: do you think that Levin breaks those social norms? Because we talked about all this character development.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah. Well, Levin
and that's one thing that Tolstoy does do well is, you know, social structures and, you know, hierarchies and the problems that were happening in Russia at the time. And do you think that he wrote Levin to break some of those social norms, because it is, you know, masculinity, man, you don't cry, you don't talk to your feelings, and
right.
I'm feeling like Levin is going to, like, he's going to spit in the face of that.
That's
and
right.
I'm kind of excited to see where he goes. I'm hopeful for him.
Yeah.
He doesn't
About
die.
something that you said.
Please don't kill him.
Right.
I'll
About
try.
something that you said before first. You were talking about the social norms and talking about Tolstoy getting people. and I just got this idea that like I think maybe Dostoevsky understands individuals. Like maybe it could be taken, an argument could be made that Dostoevsky is talking about an individual in their depth without any kind of extemporaneous stuff, whereas Tolstoy is talking about people as people, like in a group, or people in relation to other people, in relationships, in community, in that kind of way. But also understanding the depth of that person, but in relation to how they even see themselves as part of humanity, things like that. So yeah, it's good.
Is he gonna break my heart? Is he gonna break my heart? Is Levin gonna break my heart?
It's a
I feel
Russian
like
author.
Leslie
It's
said
highly
gonna be
likely.
a tragedy or a comedy, and it's setting it up so much to be a tragedy that Levin's gonna.
I will say there's a lot of foreshadowing. All right, there's a lot of foreshadowing. There is that device is wonderfully used in Anna Karenina.
So no spoilers from you, Mr. Predict Everything.
I'm not saying nothing.
No, him. One little line will be foreshadowed and be like, I figured out the end. I know it all.
You can.
Don't even shake your head. No.
You postulate all you want. You can postulate all you want. I think.
No, he's like a mystic. He gets it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. But who's gonna break your heart? I mean, as far as the story, is Anna. Like, really, you know what I mean? Levin is your kind of journey, and you see. But there's a lot of everything in Anna Karenina. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of joy. There's a lot of camaraderie, and there's a lot of perdition. So.
Do I need to get like the feelings wheel, and does Anna go through every feeling in the book, and that's why we can relate to her so well?
Show me on the wheel where Anna touched you.
In my heart.
That's right. Right here, baby.
Real deep.
So, Leslie, Christy, what are you guys most looking forward to? With
somebody slapping the absolute stuffing out of Steppen. I mean, I just was like dusting off my slapping hand for that one.
Opening chapter, right? Opening chapter.
I was like, oh my gosh, somebody please.
So I'll say this, something that I didn't know going into this, I just started it as well, is I really like it when authors give you short chapters.
Yes, absolutely.
As a father, raising kids, you don't necessarily get dedicated read time sometimes. Sometimes scared, oh, Snakey got hurt. You need to give him a kiss. It's like, okay, what? of a 19th century Russian ball over here, boy. All right, I got to finish. Who's getting the last dance? I need to figure these things out. No, but you don't necessarily get dedicated time. So when you have a book that, even though it's daunting, like how long your version of Anna Karenina, 800, sometimes 1100 pages, depending on your print. It's very easy just to pick it up and just move through a couple of chapters. You don't have to worry about having an hour to dedicate. That I think there's something to be said about when a book can integrate well and easily into people's lives. And over the last week that I've kind of started it, this has been a very easy book just to pick up, read a little bit, and not that I want to put it down, but I can. And when I come back in, I'm back in the world. You know, like I'm reading this and these characters that you guys are mentioning, Stepan and Kitty and Anna, every time they come into the page, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, he's great with gradual transition. Like each chapter doesn't just end abruptly and go to something else. And also, I like that we're in Russia and it's all snowy because it feels like it's a great time of year to read this book. Like I feel like this was a great autumnal read. I'm like, okay, I like it. It feels cold, even though
it was 88 degrees here today.
It's October in Florida. Yeah, I was like,
October. That's pretty good.
I'm sweating right now
when I went outside. Right.
To answer the question about the biography, no, I have not read that one. I don't even know which one I didn't even read the whole thing. I got it from the library when I was able to kind of like spot check some things when I was going along with the short stories. But by no means would I ever pretend or say that I'm an expert on Tolstoy. I just really like his writing. So I think that's important as we go through this read through too, is that, I'll be able to represent things that I see, that I understand. And I'm not trying to avoid or, shun anyone else's thoughts, but I just may not be able to relate to this book in the same way that some other people can. So, as we're going through this, make sure that you guys know that, I hope everybody hears that their voice is heard. But if I don't respond or don't understand, it might just be, this is just a very complex book, and I may not be able to relate to it or have the same life experiences that you guys do as you read through it. But I would love to read more of his biography to that point, though.
I think it is important to recognize that this is kind of mid Tolstoy, right? I mean, this is not early. This is not War and Peace, but this is not Alyosha at the end. Or
when he starts writing more religious,
yeah. When he has his existential crisis and starts almost becoming an anarchist because of all the problems that the Tsar is having in Russia at the time. And he's really questioning his faith and the government, questioning his faith personally. I think it's important to note those things, and knowing some more background about Tolstoy really can not change, but can maybe help you appreciate, maybe change your viewpoint, I think, on this book. So again, I think we've always kind of discussed that knowing a background of an author, where they're writing from, is very important, because this one already feels very both fiction and nonfiction. You can see where he's drawing a lot on his own life in just the first 20%.
So remind me, my historian friend, if you can recall offhand, I know it's putting you on the spot's not fair. First of all, does anyone know what year this was published? Was this 70s, 1870s?
1875 is when it first started being published in the serialization, in the Russian I don't remember what it was. And it culminated and finished in 1878, if I remember correctly.
And then remind me, I know I put you on the spot, so this isn't fair, but is this Alexander II? So we just abolished serfdom in 61, and Alexander he's still alive at this point?
He's still alive. Yeah, he's
Alexander
still alive.
The liberal. Okay, so we have a huge divide. The Crimpo dump. Oh, transitioning there. So we're at a point though where we have a huge divide in classes between peasants, recently post serfdom, right? So also it's worth of noting, I've heard this before too, that this is a story about aristocracy, about cheating in the aristocracy, which is kind of like super unheard of for the time, because these people were viewed as much different. Is there anything we have to look forward to with that, Noah, when we're reading this? Is there something we should be paying attention to in terms of the times and the class divide and such, or how would you look at that in terms of its social setting?
I would say that Tolstoy is such a master storyteller that you're not going to have any trouble with seeing exactly what he's playing with that social norms and things like that. And I really can't speak on it, because it is
okay.
The characters, that are involved have, hey, Tom, yeah, the cool kids hanging out. The characters have their, that is a source of tension. And to talk about the tension is to give things away as far as what is going to happen. It's great. It's great. That whole kind of thing you're talking about is a wonderful thing. So, I mean, there is a focus by Tolstoy on social structures and how people treat each other, and how, how they conduct themselves in the world. And that's it's through all of his stuff. It's something that he was definitely concerned with.
I think Tolstoy talks more about morality, and Dostoevsky talks more about psychology. I don't know if that's totally correct for everything, but that's just what I've noticed. Tolstoy is very, very big on what you believe morally and how it affects your life. But Dostoevsky likes to follow the heady stuff, the intellectual currents running through the period and the place where he lived.
That seems to be whether you're talking about pre-religious Tolstoy or post. Obviously, I'm not super knowledgeable on pre, but my limited experience tells me that Tolstoy, his social currency in a sense is morality, where the higher your moral standards, I think Tolstoy paints you particular ways or rewards you in specific ways. When you have a character that is perhaps performing not up to moral, and again, pre-religious Tolstoy, he definitely explores that. He explores the effects it has on you, the effects that it has on your family, what is right for you, what is right for society, is your duty to society, is your duty to your morality. And that's what I just really love about Tolstoy's writing. And I think we all know that this is a story about infidelity amongst multiple people. So it'll be one thing I'm really looking forward to tracking is he's not going to just point to as, oh, I cheated, I feel bad, right? Like that would be a very simplistic way to look at this. He's going to really explore the different ways of how that impacts an individual. It impacts a family. It impacts a society, the way society views you. And I think that's what I'm most excited for when it comes to reading this work.
I think he's also, if I would add an adjective into that, I would say that he is showing the infidelities and he's calling out the upper class people, that they're just like everybody else. And I think that's one of the big takeaways of the story, is that idea of how he's exposing the social structures, that this is normal human behavior and that there is no difference between those people up there and us down here. I think he's trying to bring himself down to the lower classes of Russia at the time.
Well, and they do, you know, what you're saying there definitely has application to the story, and like they just do it a different kind of way. You know what I mean? They have they have there's a certain way you do these things. You don't, you know, put it out there.
Or don't do.
Yeah, you know, and so there's definitely a lot of commentary like on that, just in the way that things work out. And there is, to what Christy had said earlier, that there's like an ethic, you know, underlying Tolstoy all the time, a way of treating people, a way of handling yourself. And, you know, that people don't do that is not a surprise, but, you know, there is a consequence. You know, it's just how it is. That's how life is. He's trying to show you these kind of things. And when people don't understand that, you know, that there's just consequences for actions and stuff, you know, who has felt sorry so far, you know? Who has felt sorry so far?
Sorry for getting caught.
Right. Exactly right. So, I mean, like, you know, I did this, you know, I cheated, I feel bad. That's way too simplistic and not at all what Tolstoy is trying to get at. Because if you do something, then there's reasons. There's a whole bigger story, a whole bigger picture here to bring out. And, you know, the Stefan and Dolly is just, you know, giving you your appetizer.
Now, besides after reading this book, deciding that you wanted to look like Leo Tolstoy, Noah, when you read this, was there anything that you took and you applied to your own life that you're like, I need to be better about this? Or you reflected and said something about how you wanted to change? Or you might be on mute, Noah, about how you maybe changed maybe a way you looked at your own life, perhaps?
No. As far, I mean, you know, as far as like personally in my own life, I'm a very spiritual guy. You know what I mean? I've always been a very, I've been really concerned with my own inner life, my own motivations, why I want stuff that I want, whether I really want it, why I do things, these kind of things. So it's just that this kind of thing is right in my wheelhouse in that way. I like this kind of talk and this kind of exploration. And when characters, when characters fall short of that, as far as like maybe self-assessment or being maybe a little delusional as to what their motivations are, I can see it from a mile away. It might be irritating, but that kind of thing is human nature. And you know people, that just don't, they're not self-reflective. They're not, those kind of people. And so those people are real people just as much as anybody else. And it helps me to come into contact. That's one of the things I like about reading, especially this story, is to come into contact with people that are different. And then, kind of broaden my, to not be judgmental, try to not be judgmental, right? You just know that people are people, and there's a lot of people very different than you or me or any, it's just such a huge swath of different types of people. It's awesome.
Well, let me do a panel question then for everyone here. Are you guys able to hear me okay still?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh. How are you? This is a question I feel like I usually like to start open with, but how are you guys reading the story? Are you doing a physical read? Are you doing an audiobook? Are you doing digital? When I say physical, like actual physical book, or digital, like on e-reader? Talk to me a little bit just about how you're reading it. Physical from the ladies. Physical from Noah.
Yeah, I'm
doing an audio version.
Audiobook.
Yeah, I have
I'll
the
probably
version.
listen to it too.
What I'm really gonna do is I'm gonna watch all of Sophia Clef's videos, and I'm going to. She did an hour and a half on Anna Karenina. Okay,
It deserves it.
and I'm gonna take bites and just re-experience it in ways, and just keep it fresh,
I think I'm going to do the immersion reading where I have the physical book and I have someone reading it at the same time.
Yeah, I have I have an Audible account, and it's there's a free version on there, and it's read by Maggie Gyllenhaal. She does a fantastic job, and again, it's just an easy listen to. It's not one like, I don't know. At first, I was a little confused because of all the introduction to the characters, but now that I know, Stevie, and I call him Vern, and so I have all these nicknames for the Russian names in my brain. I'm terrible with names.
Is Stevie Stepan and Vern Vronsky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Anna's easy for me. Dolly's easy, or Princess. So, but it makes it flow very easy once you know the cast of characters, and I was given a nice chart to be able to follow along with that as well, because there is, I don't know, like 50 main characters in this book, I feel like already. But it's still a very easy listen to. So I can only imagine it's probably even easier to read.
Now, when you say Maggie Gyllenhaal, is that Jake Gyllenhaal's wife? Is that correct?
Sister.
Okay.
Gross.
Yeah.
Stephanie has listened to that one. Stephanie, are you listening to this one, or are you reading it physically? That's a good question, because sometimes how you read something will really affect your experience of it. I tend to really enjoy things on audiobook, but then when I have to talk about it, I'm like, yeah, I really enjoyed it, So I'm going to try and read as much physically or immersive, like Una said.
Well, I feel like, not that it's wrong, but I feel like when you read it on your own, you apply your own inflection to how the characters say something. And it's not wrong, when a narrator does it, and it can be a great experience, but it is not necessarily how you would have applied that inflection per se. And sometimes it enhances it. We've done great audiobook readers. Sometimes it's detrimental.
Yeah.
It really just depends. And I don't think one's right or wrong, but it does impact the way you perceive the reading per se.
And you can get into this really cheap. I mean, you could get a free Audible account and for 2 weeks, and it's a free download. And then I think it's 99 cents for an ebook of this. So, I mean, you're looking at a free account, 99 cents, and you can be immersed in this book. 99 cents. That's all it would take.
That's great.
If you're if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can get it for free. You can do the immersion reading through Prime. And then obviously if you wanted to just physically turn the page, you can obviously download it free from Gutenberg. If you want, I'm talking
Leslie has to have hers to smell.
Library.
Yes.
I mean, there are used books on Amazon for $4.99. I mean, this is a very easy entry to get into immersion.
This one
for such a
it's
wonderful
got
book.
the French flaps, the deckled edges.
All the Penguin Classics Deluxe editions, baby. All of them.
Yep.
Love it.
We're approaching the end of the live stream here. We didn't mention the movie at all. I'm kind of curious. Has anyone here seen any of the movies? I think the more famous ones, obviously the 2012, was it Keira Knightley version? Has anyone seen any of these movies? 16?
Thanks.
My husband says we have.
I might watch the movie just for this. I might watch the movie.
Okay. Yeah, our friends that did that video with us today at Tipsy Tolstoy, we've mentioned, I think, every single guest on this live stream today so far successfully. All right, sweet. A lot of people like Anna Karenina. But they were telling me that the movie isn't covering everything in this book. I mean, obviously the book's...
I'm sure.
Well, yeah.
But I guess they're saying the movie only covers the first part. So it's kind of like the movie gets you started potentially, and then you got to kind of read the book to find out the whole end part. I don't know if it exactly cuts off in the first part. I'm just saying it focuses on the first part specifically is what they were telling me.
You mean you get no closure or anything? Like what happens? Who did she pick? What
I'm
happens?
guessing they kind of skip to the end, but they probably skip over about the part of the book where people talk and go to other people's houses. They probably skip that part.
I'm sure.
100%.
Man,
But that builds up the relationships. I mean, you need that investment in the characters. I don't know. It seems like too big of a book to do. I mean, this would need to be a trilogy of movies to do it any justice, or series 10 hours on Netflix.
Well, okay. So here's the real question: Who are you casting as Anna?
I don't know enough about her yet to cast her.
That's a hard one to do. To cast an iconic figure like Anna Karenina, who are you going to put in that role?
Keira Knightley, I guess. Did she win an award for it?
She's like, Anna's the whole package. I mean, she's beautiful. She's smart. She's really smart. She's really well read, and she, is very
Emma Watson,
mindful of other people. She's always looking. She's a great hostess. These kind of things. She's just the whole deal. So,
Megan Fox, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't like her right now.
Yeah, right. I would say maybe.
I've just met her and I don't really like her.
Well, I mean, to each his own.
Buddy, can I help you?
What do you not like about Anna?
She wasn't one that I instantly clicked with.
Sure.
I don't know. Maybe it's because when I met her, well, I mean, it would be a spoiler, but she came to help her brother, and I'm like, no.
Well, I mean, blood is thicker than water. Of course you're going to.
No. My brother, the only brother I have that I share the same parents with, I kept his wife in the divorce. And when she told me that she was divorcing him because she caught him growing pot and she has 2 kids that she could lose, and she's like, I'm sorry, I have to tell you this. And I was like, no, I would be mad if you didn't drop him on his tail.
See,
so, yeah.
That's the kind of drama that we have in store for us guys with Anna Karenina. This is drama. And I mean, that's the thing that hit me the most out of the first 3. How much, drama this is. And I mean, if you like drama, if you like this kind of thing, you're gonna love this.
If she got off that train and removed one of her white gloves and slapped him upside the face, then we would have been cool.
What Leslie's saying is
she's still giving the cold shoulder. She still threw a little
Right.
up.
She's not.
Can't
The thing
give
is,
it away.
it's not an acceptance of what he's doing, but it's a not wanting the family to be broken. You know, I mean, what's the greater? You don't want everybody to be.
Milo.
I guess Leslie really didn't
power
like what I had to say.
No, Milo just tripped over the cord.
I
Oh,
hope that camera didn't break.
I thought she really didn't like what I had to say.
Yeah. You know what? Off.
I'm out.
I don't even know.
I'm
what
just saying, you
came
know, I
out
mean,
of.
there's,
All right, we got 4 minutes left, Christy. What's the next steps for how people can get involved, and when's the next live stream, and where can we chat about this?
yeah, so we already have some discussion going in the literary discourse Discord, which is linked down below. We do like, you know, we pretty much always have some kind of read along going on there. So come chat with us about Anna K. And our next live stream will be right here as well on my channel. And it will be, let's see, let me find it, November 4th. And that will be like a halfway live stream. So for parts 1 through 4, we'll be discussing those. That'll be at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here. And Stephanie will be with us, which I'm so excited about. She obviously has lots of thoughts to share with us. So, yeah, if you want to come chat with us,
You're on house arrest. You can't be trusted. He's klutzy like his mother. I mean, I can't be too mad at him. I'm a little mad.
So we'll have a month to do parts 1 through 4 and come back in November here on Christy's channel. On Discord, if you are new to how you put spoilers, just put 2 pipes, and then that'll start and stop the goodness.
It's Milo's fault.
I'm waiting for the
it's beautiful chaos over there at the Nerdy Narrative.
I'm glad I wore pants today. It would have been really bad.
I bet Tolstoy didn't have to put up with this kind of audience.
No way, never.
He is his father's son.
He would have written you out. Chapter 1. Nerdy narrative dies.
Yeah, would have been a tragic ending to this one. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, Amelia Clark. That's perfect. Yes, I
Way.
accept.
She's a terrible actress.
I accept.
It's awful.
I'm in. I'm in for that one.
She is the most wooden actress ever.
No, that one from what do you call it? That vampire one. What's her name?
No, what about Emma
Bella
Watson?
Swan or whatever. That's
my
a
God.
wooden board right
I
there.
don't even know her real name. She's just Bella Swan.
She's Bella. She's a wooden
Scarlett
board.
Oh, Kristen Stewart. That's her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Not Kristen.
That's because she was always doped up.
Oh,
She has one look.
well, we should probably let people get going.
All right,
a great conversation, though.
Wait. We gotta hear final thoughts from Noah. Noah,
Okay.
you're as the one who's read this book in this chat. What's the one tip? Because we had a video of tips today that you saw of the top tips for reading Anna Karenina. Now's your time, buddy. What is Noah's top tip to and getting the most out of Anna Karenina?
Well, how to get the most out of Anna Karenina, I don't know. I can tell you what I did. I get a lot out of my reading. I feel like I'm, my reading comprehension is very good, and you just kind of go with the story. Let Tolstoy do what he does. He's a great storyteller. He gives it to you if you're asking questions about why is the character doing this? Why is this happening? What is going on here? You're meant to. He knows you're doing that at that point in the novel, and give some time for those questions, and then keep along the journey. There is a lot of stuff that comes up in Anna Karenina that you don't expect. It's a very unexpected novel, and it definitely was for me on my first read. And I think it's like that for most people, because you don't have, just a story of an adulteress and it take 800 pages to tell that story. So there's a lot more going on here than what you expect. You're going to go through a lot of emotions, a lot of journey with these characters, and just enjoy it. Don't drop expectations, I think is succinct.
Noah, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, spending some time with us today, brother. We're looking forward to hearing more from you. To my co-hosts, Leslie, Christy, Krypto, we're looking forward to this, guys. This is going to be so awesome. Any last words as we sign out?
Peace.
Thank you, Leslie.
Everybody,
thank you, Christy.
Everybody, make sure your cameras are safe.
Yes. Don't
All right,
let Paulo come to your house.
Good morning, everyone.